Hey guys, it's Tim, the Lockpicking Patrolman, and today I'm back with episode 2 of my series on picking the American Lock 1100 padlock. And today what we're going to be looking at is some of the tools and why you need these tools in order to be successful at picking these locks. So last time I discussed a little bit about the pins, how they work, basically what's going on in the guts here. So now hopefully you'll have a little bit of an understanding why we choose some of the tools that we do. With American lock cores, you can typically get either 25 or 22 thousandths pick, which is typically what you're going to have as a beginner lock picker, or maybe about a 22 thousandths if you've been picking a little bit longer. And that's still enough room, you can see, that you can go from the bottom and reach all the way up into where the pins are. So we talked about the serrations and everything. I'm going to get into that in a later video. But since we can work from the bottom of the keyway here, then you want to have a pick that has a good steep hook to it. Either, well, I like a standard hook, or maybe even something that has a little bit deeper hook. The Southward PXS 14 kit comes with a Postal Hook, and a lot of people will say you don't need the Postal Hook, or file it down before you use it, blah blah blah. I actually liked it. I don't have one now. I broke it and I have not replaced it, but I do have this Southward Max Pick, and it has a very steep hook, and that allows you to reach up to some of these very high cut pins without having to maneuver to the side of the warding right here. You can do it all from the bottom and still be able to hit the pins and lift straight up on them. Now, last video I also talked about how these pins are spaced a little bit closer together than your standard Quickset or Schlage or Yale style lock. So you're going to want a pick with slightly narrower tip on it, or you don't really want a pick like this, because if you go in, while it will reach, it may make it difficult. See where it's raising up on both of them. Also, it's going to make it difficult to feel which pin your pick is actually on. So stick with something that's sort of rounded like that. Anything Southward will work. If you don't have a Southward pick, or some of the Peterson picks, and you have a Chinese pick such as this, a lot of times if you just give it a little touch of sandpaper through this area, or maybe right here, just to knock off that corner a bit, it will help. However, try the picks that you have first before you go modifying them. I hate hearing that you have to modify your existing picks in order to pick one specific type of lock. Now, of course, these principles apply to other locks, but generally speaking, you want something with a nice, nice defined tip on it that doesn't take up too much space. This pick was custom made for me several years ago, and it is picked up in many different locks. And you can see how the tip is just rounded, it's not flattened, and the angle on the hook allows me to lift all the way up, even on some of these really shallow cut pins. So choose your pick selection like that. I would not use a Sparrow's Tron. I love the Tron, but I would not use it for this, because you can see that's a very shallow pick. It doesn't reach up as far as, say, the Southward pick does. The angle's just not as steep, and it doesn't have as much reach. And when you don't have as much reach, you'll basically just find yourself stuck because you'll keep lifting a pin just barely, but not getting the driver pin or the top pin out of the way. And that's what the goal is. You want to lift up on the pin enough to where that driver pin meets the shear line and the plug can turn. Obviously you can try it with one of these, but you're not going to be very successful. So stick to a medium angled hook. Also, when it comes to these locks, you want to be considerate about your turning tool or your tensioner. A lot of beginner kits only come with tools like this, which are designed to be put in the bottom of the keyway, like so. You can learn how to pick these locks using a tensioning tool like this. However, it's going to be very difficult, so I would recommend staying away from bottom of the keyway tensioning tools. If you do use one of these, you notice though that it robs you of all of the space down here that you had to rest your pick. If you try to go in like this, your tip of your hook is going to go way up. That's another thing, another reason why you don't want to pick like this, just to cover that shape real quickly again, is if you have a pin that is cut like this, which is very close to the shear line, whenever you insert a pick that has a very thick shaft like that, then you can actually lift those low cut pins up by accident, and that will get trapped up in the Bible and prevent you from picking the lock successfully. You might be able to reach every other pin there is. However, when you're trying to lever some of these back pins, you notice that front pin rises up too, and that's simply because the shaft of this pick gets larger as it goes on. So back to turning tools. With these types of locks, you want to use a pry bar type tool, and you'll put it in the top of the keyway like so, and that will allow you to put tension on the core in order to pick it. And the entire one entire segment of this video will be about tensioning these, so don't worry too much about your tensioning technique right now. Also, you want to make sure that it's a tool that will reach in through the body, because you can see in one of these fully assembled locks, the face of the plug is recessed behind this plate. So if you were to try to use the short end of your tensioner, you would have to angle it, and that would interfere with your picking, and also it would fall out quite easily. So use the end that's longer. It allows you to reach past that plate. That's why it's designed that way, and allows you to comfortably tension the lock. So again, our tools that we're going to use are picks that have at least a medium to steep rise in the hook, and we're going to use a top of the keyway tensioner. So any questions or comments, please leave them below. As always, stay safe, stay out of trouble, and we'll see you next time.